So while Napoleon is living his best life exiled on the island of St. Helena, I mean, look at him, he's just so happy. The rest of the powers in Europe have to clean up the mess he caused on the continent, and they did that in the Congress of Vienna, and that is what this video is all about. So if you're ready to get them brain cows milked, let's get to it. By the way, if you want note guides to follow along with this video, then check the link in the description. So recall from the previous video on Napoleon that he basically made all of Europe his little plaything, and that seriously disrupted the balance of power on the continent. And I hope that sounds familiar because we talked about it those many videos ago in Unit 3. Remember that the Peace of Westphalia in 1648 brought an end to religion as a cause for European states to go to war. But after that, the main reason states fought was to maintain that delicate balance of power in Europe, and the idea behind the balance of power is that no one wanted any one state to be more powerful than any other state, because that would be disastrous, and I'd say that Age of Napoleon proved them right. So by 1814, about a year before Napoleon's final defeat at Waterloo, the Quadruple Alliance, which included Russia, Prussia, Austria, and Great Britain, got together in what was known as the Congress of Vienna. They completed their work in 1815 after Napoleon's defeat, and that year is definitely one to know. It is a massive turning point in European history precisely because of the work the Congress did. So let's talk about it. The first thing you need to know is that the monarchies represented in the Quadruple Alliance were pushing for conservative measures. Now, the emphasis of conservatism during that period was a reliance on tradition and inherited structures. After all, look what the liberal reforms accomplished in France. When people are allowed to think for themselves, they be cutting people's heads off. So these conservative rulers aimed to roll back, or at least temper, the liberal reforms that came out of the French Revolution and harken back to aristocratic and church and monarchical institutions that had the patina of age and stability about them. The second thing you need to know is that the principle driving their decisions at the Congress of Vienna was the reestablishment of the balance of power. And you can see how important that was to them by the fact that they invited France to the negotiating table. Like, when have you ever heard of a defeated power being offered a seat and an opinion for how things are going to go after they're defeated? But the Quadruple Alliance understood that Europe benefited from a strong France. Not too strong, but just strong enough to hold the other powers in balance. But despite this leniency toward France, the members of the Congress decided to beef up defenses around France as well. Belgium and Holland united under the Dutch monarchy and were together a force strong enough to oppose French aggression. And Prussia received territory on France's eastern border, which would help them also keep France in check. And the third thing you need to know is the guy who basically orchestrated the Congress, namely the Austrian foreign minister Klemens von Metternich. Under his conservative leadership, the Congress basically rolled back the borders of France about 20 years as it was in 1792. And while this was drastically less territory than they had under Napoleon's reign, it was more than they had at the start of the French Revolution, so nice. However, while they were working all this out, that was about the time Napoleon escaped from exile, came back to France, and tried to reassert his power. And after he was defeated, the supremely annoyed Congress took a little more territory from France, but it was still a good deal for them. I mean, remember, France was the defeated party here. The fact that they're getting anything is pretty great. Now, the work of this Congress, conservative as it was, would ultimately usher in 50 years of peace on the European continent, a period of time known as the Age of Metternich, but we'll revisit that in the next unit. All right, click here to keep reviewing Unit 5 of AP Euro, and if you need help getting an A in your class and a 5 on your exam in May, then click right here and grab my AP Euro review pack, which will make all your dreams come true. And I'll catch you on the flip-flop. Heimler out.